Hello friends, it's Dave here from SaveDex, joined again by Fatman&Pop. Hello Fatman&Pop.
Hey, it's good to be back, man, and we're going to be having some interesting discussions on what the topics are on this video, aren't we?
We are indeed, because as people will know, this year we've had two Nintendo Directs so far, but one common thing between them both is we've had a Gamecube game get remastered for the Switch, being Metroid Prime first, then it was Pikmin 1 and 2 at the most recent one, where they were both shadow dropped on the eShop and then released physically at a later date, and also sold at a cheaper price than Nintendo normally do. So I thought, could Nintendo keep this trend going? I will say, first of all, there's a bunch of games I won't mention, like Smash Brothers, Melee, Mario Kart Double Dash, the Mario sports and party games in general, Animal Crossing, WarioWare. They all have their sort of iterative franchises, so they all have a game on the Switch, so they don't really need the GameCube ones on there. You happy with that, Fatman&Pop?
Absolutely.
Cool. So, but one thing I will mention is Mario Party, that had 4 games on the GameCube. I'd like to see some of the boards from them be put as DLC on Mario Party Superstars. That's all I'll say on that.
For me, of course, when it comes to obviously the Mario Party games, DLC is probably the best route to go about it. Because I mean, the party games are perfect as they are. Games like Mario Kart Double Dash and Pikmin 1 and 2 games are already perfect as they are. So bringing them over to the Switch will definitely benefit a lot.
Well, definitely. So let's go on to our actual list now of 15 entries we've got. So I don't think we'll have to say too much about the first entry. We've talked about this a lot, haven't we?
Yeah,
What is it?
As I mentioned, my beloved F-Zero GX.
Ah, yes. What do you think of the chances of this one getting a port?
Well, there's definitely a high chance because obviously, one, people like me have been requesting this game to come back for decades, and two, Nate the Hate has been confirming a lot of heavy rumors, which have turned out to be true, and F-Zero GX is no doubt one of them. So, I'm just waiting for Nintendo just to announce it on one of their directs, and once that happens, expect me to lose my mind, like physically lose my mind.
Oh, yeah. It's just any time there's a Nintendo Direct, since Nintendo Directs have started, everyone's been new F-Zero, and it's like they haven't been doing it, but I think a port of F-Zero GX would be a brilliant way to do it. I'm sure Sega will be on board for it as well.
Definitely about that, but what's even more ironic though is that the rumor of the GX remastered, it turns out Next Level Games might be involved with the remastered port, which I find quite interesting considering that they may work on like the Mario Strikers games and the Luigi's Mansion series, but them working on a GameCube port that was made by a Japanese development studio, that is something I am very curious to see how that's going to work.
And yeah, Nintendo own them now as well, so
that is true.
That's yeah, definitely possible. That's actually not a bad shout for them to be doing it.
I mean, if they and as we mentioned numerous times on your podcast as well, they definitely need to bring in online multiplayer for this game, and you've got the perfect F-Zero game. That's all you need to do.
Definitely, F-Zero GX HD. You know, the extra tracks you mentioned before, online. That's all you need.
Mm-hmm.
I think it could be done. So
Definitely.
the next entry is a double pick. It's Wind Waker and Twilight Princess. I've put them sort of as a double pack because both of them have already had HD remakes that were sold individually, and I wouldn't put it past Nintendo to sell them again at full price, and no doubt they would sell at full price again, but
Yeah, of course.
I'd like to see them the same way as maybe sell them for like £35 each, but then as a bundle.
A bundle like that would work. So I know they've already done the whole Wind Waker HD port back on the Wii U, but if they do it as a full on bundle, like you said, like that would definitely be a price worth paying for 2 games in one.
Definitely.
It's like because Wind Waker and Twilight Princess are beloved by so many. Like I know some people had their issues with the Wii version of Twilight Princess, but the GameCube version is always going to be a masterpiece to those who enjoyed it.
I'm wondering whether because of Tears of the Kingdom, they wanted to just, keep people interested in that. And obviously, and also they sold Skyward Sword HD. They didn't want to put too much Zelda out there at once. So
Yeah,
maybe
true.
in the next year, now Tears of the Kingdom's done and dusted. I don't know if they'll do DLC for that or not, but maybe now's the time to. Here you go. Here's 2 more Zelda games for you. Okay, so next entry, number 3. I'll put a double entry here because I sort of link these 2 franchises together. That's
Yeah.
Wave Race Blue Storm and 1080 Avalanche.
Right. Okay. So
We talked about these recently, didn't
yeah,
we?
we did actually because I mentioned I only played 1080 Avalanche. Blue Storm I'm not familiar with, unfortunately. I never got a chance to play that. But what I do know is that both Wave Race and 1080 take place in the same universe. So this is actually a wise decision for you to actually put them in the same podium.
I only wanted to make this 15 entries, and I had too many games. That's why I did that.
I see. But what I would recommend though, just like with F-Zero, bring in online multiplayer for both of these games. And
yeah.
if when it comes to Wave Race, I would humbly suggest get some good friends of mine that I know that know water racing games very well, Vector Unit. Get them to do port testing of Wave Race Blue Storm, because their series, the Riptide GP series, is actually a successor to Wave Race. So if you want any info on that, go and check that out. But yeah, Wave Race Blue Storm and 1080 Avalanche are no doubt like underrated classics that need that comeback, especially from the GameCube's library of games.
Yeah, what do you think would be the likelihood of these coming back, like at the next Direct?
Ooh, I would say Wave Race because that's got more of the popularity. I mean, people prefer that, especially Wave Race 64. So Blue Storm,
Yeah.
in my perspective, has got a higher chance of coming back.
Blue Storm is very much Wave Race 64 with better graphics.
Yeah,
It plays just as good. So
pretty much.
Yeah, and it's interesting because Wave Race got put on the N64 app, and 1080 is still on the way, but they haven't put it on there yet. But it might be interesting to see because they keep track of how much you play each game on there. Maybe they're looking at how much people are playing Wave Race and 1080 on there when it comes.
Oh yeah,
And just to see how much interest there is.
it's definitely worth it.
Okay, so the next one I think could definitely happen at some point. That's Metroid Prime 2.
This one wouldn't surprise me if this ever got an announcement at a Nintendo Direct because of course every Metroid fan lost their mind when Prime 1 Remaster was announced, and of course Metroid Prime 2 Echoes would definitely be the callback of those hints that Nintendo is implying that they're going to remaster the entire trilogy to get everyone hyped up for Metroid Prime 4, which makes sense because I mean if they're going to announce Metroid Prime 2, it's definitely on the horizon. Like when you look at it through this perspective, right? Because Metroid Prime 1, I've got to say, looks gorgeous as a remaster, especially them fixing Samus's face. Like she looks amazing without the helmet, and I think with Metroid Prime 2 with Dark Samus involved, I definitely think that we're gonna be seeing like detailed, crisp designs from that character, especially with all the environments around it.
Because Metroid Prime 3 would be the one, because that was designed with Wii controls in mind, so
Yeah.
that would probably take more work than the other 2 to remaster, but they can pull it off. They did with Skyward Sword.
Yeah, of course, no problem.
And obviously Metroid Prime 2 were designed with GameCube controller in mind, so this wouldn't be as difficult to remake as Metroid Prime 3 was. So I wouldn't be surprised if this came out sooner rather than later, because if they want to get all 3 of them out before Metroid Prime 4, and who knows when that's coming out. But I reckon that's why we've not heard about Metroid Prime 4, because they probably want to get these games out first.
That does sound like the case. I mean, of course, we all know that that Nintendo had to restart Prime 4's development because obviously Bandai Namco in America practically screwed up its original development, and there's been rumors about that we may see like the old cancelled footage of Metroid Prime 4 from Namco's side, not Retro Studios. So, if that ever does happen, we're like we can do like a side by side comparison of which game is better, the full release from Retro or the prototype from Bandai Namco.
The thing is, the announcement that they've restarted it was 4.5 years ago now.
Yeah, pretty much it was.
So they should have something to show us by now, surely.
The way I see it is that Metroid Prime 4, the reason why I believe it's taken so long is because it's probably going to be one of the longest, if not the biggest, Metroid Prime games in the series.
Because like Tears of the Kingdom was kind of there, like, oh, it's a sort of reused asset sequel, and it's like, why is that taking so long to make and all that? But the game comes out, it took me over 130 hours to beat that game. So yeah, the longer development time, you do get such a polished experience and such a huge game out of it.
It does make a lot of sense as to why that might be the reason why Prime 4 is taking so long to come out. But more patience is definitely worth the waste. That's all I can say.
Yeah. Okay, so the fifth entry today is one that gets brought up a lot as it is going to be remade, and that's Paper Mario: The Thousand Year Door.
I never really played too much of it. I did like play from time to time. I was more of the Super Paper Mario guy for the Wii, but Thousand Year Door, I know for a fact it was beloved by so many, and I don't see how Nintendo can't say no to this, because I mean Paper Mario is a beloved series. I mean,
the thing is, because obviously the first two, this one and the N64 one, were like proper RPG styles, like turn-based, all that, where ever since then they've done every Paper Mario game's been unique, pretty much.
Yeah.
And they've been kind of funny with how like Toads are portrayed and things like that since then. And the thing is, Paper Mario Thousand Year Door are just, I mean, even if it's a full-priced port, it would sell so much. Origami Kings was like the highest selling game in the series, and my only thought is if they were to release it in September, that direct in the way we're talking about Shadow Drop then later, I think Paper Mario Thousand Year Door is too big a game for them to do that with, but then so was Metroid Prime. But because they got the Mario RPG remake coming out in November, do they want to take away from that?
I think it's best for Nintendo to wait it out with this one, because thinking about it now is that they wanna wait for Mario RPG's hype to die down, then hopefully they'll announce Thousand Year Door.
But then again, they released Pikmin 1 and 2 just a month before Pikmin 4 came out.
Right.
But then again, like Pikmin's their own thing, whereas Mario RPG is made by Square Enix. It'd probably annoy Square Enix if they released their own Mario RPG just before theirs, wouldn't it?
And that would just cause relationship issues between both parties, and you don't want to do that at all.
Yeah. So as much as I'd like to see a remake of this, I don't think this is going to come this year.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm sure you've got a lot of information to tell us about this next one, Eternal Darkness.
Okay, so this one's kind of an interesting one. Before it gets to like obviously the main details of the game, is that I do want to see this game come back, because this was Nintendo's equivalent to their own exclusive horror game for the first time, and my mind was blown away about how terrifying this game was. The only downside to this is that the creator of Eternal Darkness quit Nintendo 5 months after the game's release, because he let's just say he got into a massive fight with Shigeru Miyamoto and Satoru Iwata during that time, because he was trying to prove that his game was more better than Mario and Zelda, and it just caused this huge petty argument. But if there ever was going to be a remaster of Eternal Darkness, which I hope it does, like don't sound so surprised if the creator's name isn't included in the credits as an honorable mention, because if that's the case, then it just shows that Nintendo's got some beef with him, which I wouldn't be surprised. But what what I will say is that I think you and I can both agree, especially those who've played Eternal Darkness, is that this game is designed to be evil. It is designed to
Oh
mess
yeah.
with the player's brains. Like once your sanity meter drains, all kinds of like evil stuff happens. Especially with that one time where the game pretended it was erasing all of your memory off your memory card, and I
Yes.
literally freaked out as a kid. I was panicking so badly.
But think how well that could get updated now. They could have like a copy of the eShop and just saying like your credit card details have been stolen or something like that.
or better yet, the Nintendo Switch dashboard where it just deletes all of your games.
Yeah, like just
What?
have a copy of what your dashboard looks like and things like that. Make it look convincing. It's so convincing.
Oh,
Like,
like with that type of technology and programming, like they can pull that off. Like it's obvious the developers had so much fun coming up with these ideas for the sanity drainage sequences.
as the Switch, you can post straight to Facebook and Twitter on there, so maybe it can just say put out some offensive tweets saying onto your Twitter or something.
Okay, yeah, because now like we if Miyamoto is watching this, please get us in development of Eternal Darkness. Me and Dave got some great
Oh, we
ideas
can
here.
come up with so many insanity effects here.
Like it would be a dream come true. Like,
but
oh man,
but
it's like
September would be a good time to announce it for an October release.
absolutely. Like bring it just like a few days or a week before Halloween. Then this game is already selling like hotcakes.
Our main character in it was a spirit in Smash Brothers as well.
Oh really?
Yeah, so
Oh,
they
okay.
haven't forgotten. They haven't forgotten.
Well, I do know the final boss who was that undead Roman guy.
Yeah.
Fun fact though, the man who voices him actually was the voice of Boba Fett from the original Star Wars trilogy.
Oh, nice. So moving on to the next entry, I've got a double whammy here. Star Fox Adventures or Star Fox Assault.
I would rather much prefer Star Fox Assault because it's my second favorite game alongside Star Fox 64 or Lilac Wars as it's called here in Europe. Star Fox Adventures, I was heavily disappointed with that game. I really was.
I never finished
Um,
it. I got it when it was cheap, but I never finished it.
it's not even worth finishing, mate. Honestly, it's actually rather bland to say the
It
least.
felt a bit budget Zelda was how I felt
Yeah,
about
pretty
it.
much.
um,
Assault, I will say brought the IP back on its feet again, which I think is absolutely great because it went back to that good old classic dogfighting. It told its own original story that didn't really involve Andros. The multiplayer, I've got to admit, was absolutely fun because you were basically in a third person shooter aspect where you would go around just shooting each other with guns, rocket launchers, grenades. I miss that from Star Fox. Don't get me wrong, I love the dogfighting and riding in the Landmaster, but I love that you can just jump out the vehicles and just start running around just trying to shoot each other. It felt like a third person version of Unreal Tournament, just minus the
oh
power
wow.
ups.
Did Namco make this one?
Yeah, they did. Bandai Namco made it, and I personally think that if this ever gets a remaster, which I hope it does, hopefully they can make up for it. Hopefully Nintendo can make up for it with that god awful release, that being Star Fox Zero. Um,
That was
but
Platinum,
yeah,
that
Star
one,
Fox.
wasn't it?
Yeah, it was,
Um,
and Star Fox Assault. That was an all-time classic for me. I fell in love with that game when I got it on the GameCube. It was so good.
and
Like
Nintendo
like
and Namco are always on good terms, aren't they?
oh yeah, absolutely. They're,
So
they're all they're always got great partnerships with each other.
yeah, that's cool. So let's move on to the next double whammy, which I think Namco had a part in as well. Donkey Konga and Donkey Kong Jungle Beat.
Okay, so this one kind of confused me here because like is Conga the that jetpack racing game or was that Jungle Beat?
Neither.
Right.
So
All right.
Donkey Konga was a rhythm game where you had the bongos,
Yeah,
and Donkey Kong Jungle Beat was a 2D platformer that controlled with the bongos. You're
I
thinking of
see.
Donkey Kong Jet Race,
Yeah, that's it. That's it. Sorry, my bad. Sorry.
which was also called
Um,
Donkey Kong Barrel Blast elsewhere, I think.
yeah, got yeah. All right, all right.
Yeah.
It's
So
all going
and
back to me
also
now.
Donkey Kong Jungle Beat was brought to the Wii as well, so it can be played
Yeah.
without the bongos.
Well, with this, I'm pretty, well, this, I doubt this will ever get
I doubt it as well.
a remaster, but if you never know with Nintendo, like don't like sometimes they can be the wild card, like they can just announce a random remaster just completely out of nowhere, and if they want to make the game more unique, they're gonna have to use the Joy-Cons as
Yeah.
drumsticks like mashed down on the bongos, but this game, there is a low chance of this happening.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I'd like to see a new Donkey Kong game anyway, but
Mm.
I would be disappointed if these were the Donkey Kong games they announced.
Yeah.
But okay, so next one is Kirby Air Ride.
Oh, okay. Kirby Air Ride.
This is
This
a
one,
bit of a cult classic. This one, isn't it?
it is. And I'm interested to see if Sakurai is more than willing to actually bring this game back. Kirby Air Ride, again, like give it online multiplayer, and oh my god, like people are going to be on board with this.
Yeah,
Like,
I could see it being a release similar to the Dream Buffet they did
yeah,
last year, like an eShop exclusive, sort of lower priced release. Whether it's this game or a follow up to it.
I mean, it's worth it. If you want to bring playable characters like King DDD, Meta Knight,
There's been new characters since then as well.
yeah, as you can bring in some of the new characters, especially those who were in
Star Allies.
oh what Star Allies. But what was that other Kirby game that came out recently? The one that had that post apocalyptic type of like theme to it.
Forgotten Land.
Yeah, Forgotten Lands.
Yeah,
That's
there's
it.
a lot you can
Like,
draw from that.
oh yeah, like bring them aboard. There's so many ideas you can bring there, and it's just gonna be like this game should merely just be a fan service racing game. That's all you have to do.
Oh yeah, definitely. Again, I think maybe a follow up rather than a port for this one, because there's so much they could add to it. But I think the formula is good for like an eShop game similar to Dream Buffet. So next one, and this is a sore point for me, it's Luigi's Mansion. Now we know Luigi's Mansion 2's getting a remake next year.
Yeah.
And I was kind of like, why isn't it Luigi's Mansion 1 and 2? Like as a double thing. And I'm like, will they do a Metroid Prime or Pikmin with us where they'll just quietly release the first Luigi's Mansion beforehand, maybe next month?
There's definitely a possibility for this game, because this did get a port for the 3DS a few years back. So
It did, yeah, and that was one where I think a lot of people were like, "Why isn't that on Switch rather than 3DS?"
Yeah, and you got to remember something though, is that Luigi's Mansion, the Luigi's Mansion 2 remaster isn't done by Next Level Games. That's done by a completely different studio.
That supports the F-Zero rumor.
Yeah, that which of course makes sense. So I don't know what this development studio's name is, but what I do know is that they are heavily committed to bringing back Luigi's Mansion Dark Moon, or Luigi's Mansion 2.
Yeah.
And possibly this one, Luigi's Mansion 1, because I even remember as a kid I was scared of this game. I really was.
Nice.
Because what scared me was when Luigi was zoomed in on the door handle and the key and the keyhole, and you see Luigi's hand just like shaking like crazy, carefully like unlocking the door and like slowly opening the door, and it's just, oh man, like that always frightened me as a kid, because you never know what's going to be in those rooms.
Definitely. And the fact that Luigi's Mansion 3 sold like stupidly well as well.
Like
over 10 million.
which is a pass above Luigi's Mansion 1, because if I remember correctly, the first game's copies sold up to around, I think it was like 2 or 3 million, I think.
And that was like the big GameCube launch game, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. And of course now, obviously, since gaming is so big these days, there's no doubt in my mind that the first game's sales records could surpass that. It could surpass up to like 6 to 7 million.
And again, like I was saying with Eternal Darkness, if next month, September, they do a shadow drop for it and then said physical in October, at a lower price, because it is a shorter game frankly. But
Yeah,
I think that would do really well.
most definitely.
Okay, so next entry, number 11 here, Chibi Robo, which I think is a bit of a sore point for some because of how Nintendo treated this franchise.
It is one of those underrated few that quite a lot talk about, and I do believe it does deserve a second chance. Even though it's not on Nintendo's high list, it still deserves it.
Yeah, and it's one I never played it. The only one I have is the 3DS one, the one that Nintendo
Yeah,
said if this doesn't do well, we're stopping the series. Basically, then it didn't
yeah,
do well. But I don't think the game was that good, the 3DS one. But
nah,
um, so it's one of them.
like
But it's sad. I don't think we'll see this one back though,
nah,
sadly.
definitely.
But okay, so next one, Fire Emblem Path of Radiance.
I mean, if Fire Emblem fans are more than happy to see this game come back, then happy days. I mean, me personally, I never really was a big fan of Fire Emblem, never really cared about it, but Path of Radiance, like I know, like I even remember reading articles that fans were going crazy over the fact that this was the first ever 3D Fire Emblem game, and they were testing it out, see how good it was, and they were glued to it. So if if they can bring this back, I'm sure it wouldn't be a problem today.
Yeah, I mean, at the time, I don't know how well these games sold, but then GameCube in general wasn't a big seller. Like, Fire Emblem is just huge now. It's really popular.
Oh
And
yeah,
I think now is a good time because obviously we had Engage this year back in January, which I think sold well. And obviously Free Houses was a monster hit. I think this would be a good release. I think this would be a popular one.
it definitely would.
Okay, so number 13 now. We're going to give that to Wario World, which
Oh,
again,
okay.
an
So
expensive one to buy second hand.
Warrior World, I will say, of course, yeah, the game had its problems. That much we can agree on.
I've never
But
played
the
it.
okay, so Warrior World, I had high hopes for this game. I wanted this game. I wanted to like it, but the problem was that what made this game like kind of fell flat on its face a little bit was that it was the controls. It felt incredibly janky, and I
Ah,
mean like not like your average 2000s janky controls. I'm talking like unpolished janky controls. Like something must have went wrong during the game's development, and I hope if this ever gets a remaster, that like the controls responses needs to be fixed, and I mean very heavily fixed.
oh yeah.
Um, because in Wario World, you would travel to like these different rooms that take you to these different like worlds and stuff. Before facing the final boss, which was this giant black jewel octopus monster thing, or whatever it was. Um, and of course, anyone who knows Wario's background, his whole purpose is just getting rich and just being greedy. That's the whole point of it. And
And appropriately, the game was made by Treasure.
but yeah, if Wario World was ever planned to get a remaster, what I would love to see from this is Wario World 2, 3, 4, 5, and so on as like the 3D twin to the Wario Land series, which I think would absolutely be fantastic.
Oh yeah, definitely. Because again, it was more out of curiosity because I've never played this game. I'd like to see it get another chance and like fix up the issues you talked about. But the one thing is, we are getting another WarioWare game this year.
Oh, I know.
And there's been those rumours about the Wii Wario Land game getting a remaster as well. So
Smooth Moves was it called?
Smooth Moves was the Wii one.
Yeah.
But I'm talking about Wario Land was the Shake Dimension.
Oh,
Or
shit!
Shake,
Yeah.
yeah,
Oh, my
the
bad. Sorry. Yeah.
that's
Right.
the platformer one. Yeah.
Oh, I hope it does.
Smooth Moves was the WarioWare game.
Yeah. Sorry,
And
my bad.
and the WarioWare game coming out this year is a follow up to the Smooth Moves as well with the motion controlled micro games. So yeah, so I don't know whether they would bring this one back because there's been Wario Land and WarioWare sort of have had versions or even been mentioned or referenced before or put on the Virtual Console and Wario Land State case. So Wario World never gets talked about, so I don't know whether they would if it's high on their priorities right now.
Hopefully one day it will.
Yeah, hopefully. Okay, so the next one I don't really know much about. It's called Geist.
Geist. I'm not really familiar with this game, unfortunately.
Yeah, I was just going through. I know it's a shooter, but it's kind of like you're like a spirit and you possess people.
Oh, okay, I see.
That's all. I had someone highly recommended it to me back in the day, but I never got it. But it's just it was on the list. Or it's probably one of them more niche games that Nintendo published. It was developed by N-Space. So it's one of them.
I've heard of N-Space. I've heard of those guys.
So again, but it's just quite a unique thing where it's a mature rated Nintendo published game, and it's just been nice to have Nintendo put something like that on the Switch again. Like obviously we have like Bayonetta 3 they published, didn't they, and stuff like that, but it's not often you see Nintendo do that sort of thing, so it'd be nice to bring that one back again in time for Halloween.
that'll be a dream come true.
Yeah. And the final entry we got here, again I've grouped together Pokemon Colosseum, Pokemon Channel, or Pokemon XD Gale of Darkness.
Now for me, I'm not so much of the Pokemon fan. I will say it most, but Colosseum I did play a little bit of. So I've kind of got a bit of experience with it, I guess. I would humbly suggest like remaster this just like they did with the Sapphire and Ruby games, but bring in the current Pokemon into the remaster of Colosseum. Like that would like obviously like bring to light of you know that you can play an old Pokemon game redone with a new coat of paint whilst adding the new gen Pokemon to battle each other, which I think would be an absolute treat.
Oh yeah, definitely. See, I've never played any of these games, by the way. It's one reason I've put them on the list of things to come back, so I can play them. Because again, they're very expensive now. Pokemon Channel is like it's like apparently like a really crap. You're watching TV with Pikachu sort of thing.
Oh.
And I never looked too much into it, and I'm like, yeah, so I just put that on there as a joke, really.
Well, that no doubt, that's not on Nintendo's high list right now. But what about Gale of Darkness? I'm not really too familiar with that.
I don't really know much about it either.
Alright, fair enough.
But again, that's why I'd like them to come back so I can find out about them.
Fair enough. I mean, in this state alone, like if you're going to release a GameCube game that's at a $20 to $30 price point, I think everyone's happy with that because you're showing love and devotion to both the games and the fans who enjoyed it, regardless whether that game was underrated or not. Like it's still a dream come true.
But just imagine if like the rumors got out that they're gonna bring a remastered a GameCube Pokemon game and then it's Pokemon Channel.
I can just picture a bunch of Pokemon fans just slamming their heads against the wall going, "Why, Nintendo? Why?"
Anyway, so those are our suggestions of GameCube games that could get remasters and what we think of the likelihood of them. So thank you for joining me for this, Fatman&Pop. Do you enjoy your time here?
Pleasure's all mine, man. Like it's been great talking about these GameCube games, and I hope to talk to you again in the future.
Definitely. So, mate, I'll put a link to your channel in the top pinned comment. Anyways,
thank you.
You're working on your big project still.
Yeah, it's if anyone's checked out the latest post, it's 80% complete, so we're almost there. Still, what I'm gonna do after that is obviously rewatch the entire video to check if I made any mistakes, and if I did, of course it may have to be delayed, and once that's out of the way, I can fully upload it.
Nice. Right, so thank you very much for joining me again. Thank you to everyone for listening to our talkings. Let us know in the comments down below what your favourite GameCube games are and what you'd like to see come to Switch. So we'll see you in the next one. Bye bye.
See ya.